Wait a minute, did that really just happen? The Los Angeles Chargers walk into Tennessee, and walk out with a win that hardly anyone saw coming. But trust me, this one means a lot more than it looks on paper. There's something bigger brewing here, and it could shake up what happens next for the Bolts. Before we dive into the latest breaking updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss fresh Chargers news. Alright, let's get into it. Chargers fans, you've got every reason to be fired up right now. The Bolts went into Tennessee and handled business, grabbing a much-needed win against the Titans. And let's be honest, not many people expected that kind of fight. What really stood out though? The crowd. Chargers fans showed up loud and proud on the road, something this team doesn't always get credit for at home. Seeing that sea of powder blue in Tennessee? That was special. Now sure, it wasn't the cleanest game ever. There were moments where it looked like things might slip away, but the Chargers dug deep and found a way. That's what matters. Sometimes good teams win ugly, and this was one of those times. This victory pushes the Bolts to 6-3, and that's huge heading into a week that could completely reshape the season. Because guess what's coming up on Tuesday? Yep, the NFL trade deadline. And you know what that means. Phones are ringing, front offices are busy, and teams like the Chargers, sitting in playoff position but still needing help in a few spots, might just be ready to make a move. Nothing's guaranteed, but the timing feels right. They've got momentum, confidence, and maybe just enough motivation to make something happen. So buckle up, because the next few days could be big for the Chargers, and we'll be right here breaking it all down as it happens. Stay with me. At 6-3, the Chargers are in a good spot, but let's be real, the road ahead isn't getting any easier. The next few weeks are going to test this team in every way. They've got the Steelers up next, then another round against Kansas City, Denver, and Las Vegas, plus a big matchup with the Eagles still on the schedule. That's a brutal stretch, and if the Chargers want to make a serious playoff push, they can't just survive, they've got to fix what's broken. Now, sitting at 6-3 gives them something valuable: leverage. They're in a position where a smart move or two could push them from good to dangerous. And if we're being honest, there are some areas that clearly need help. Let's start with the offensive line, because that's the biggest concern right now. Losing Joe Alt again? That's a gut punch. The guy had just come back, and then boom, another setback. It didn't even look like something reckless, he just got rolled up on by another player. But no matter how it happened, it hurts. And now, it feels like the Chargers don't have a choice anymore, they have to make a move for more protection up front. There are some names floating around the league, guys like Trevor Penning, Evan Neal, and a few interior linemen who could really help stabilize this group. Because let's face it, with Mike Becton dealing with injuries on and off, the depth is paper thin. If they don't reinforce that line soon, it could cost them when the games matter most. And hey, while running back is also a question mark, with guys like Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris both sidelined, that's still secondary to what's happening in the trenches. The Chargers need toughness, they need reliability, and most of all, they need to protect Justin Herbert. If this front office is serious about making a playoff run, now's the moment to prove it. No excuses, just action. Stay with me, because what happens next could decide the Chargers' entire season. With the trade deadline right around the corner, the Chargers' win couldn't have come at a better time. Between the injuries, the offensive line struggles, and the questions at running back, this team might be one or two smart moves away from becoming a real playoff threat. So, keep your eyes open, something could go down by Tuesday. But before we talk trades, let's break down what actually happened in this game, what worked, what didn't, and who stepped up when it mattered most. Let's start with the man at the center of it all, Justin Herbert. This was one of those games where he just refused to let his team lose. Despite being sacked 6 times, despite the chaos around him, Herbert kept fighting like a warrior. He was pressured, hit, and chased every other play, but somehow, he still made magic happen. The numbers tell part of the story: 250 passing yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception, but what really stood out was what he did with his legs. 57 rushing yards and a touchdown on the ground. That's not just effort, that's leadership. Herbert turned broken plays into first downs and gave this offense life when it desperately needed it. He wasn't just the quarterback today, he was the entire heartbeat of the team. And credit where it's due, offensive coordinator Greg Roman deserves a nod. He leaned into Herbert's mobility, used designed rollouts and movement, and let him do what he does best, make plays on the fly. That adjustment probably saved the game. Now, if I were handing out game balls, the first one goes straight to Justin Herbert, no question. But the second? That belongs to Oronde Gadsden. This rookie just keeps proving he belongs. 5 catches on 5 targets for 68 yards, and every single one seemed to come at the perfect time. Gadsden isn't just reliable, he's explosive. For a 5th-round pick, this guy's value is unreal. We've seen Herbert try to connect with tight ends before, Jared Cook, Gerald Everett, Hunter Henry, but Gadsden might be the one who finally clicks. He's fast, he's strong, and his hands are as sure as they come. This connection feels special. And if he keeps playing like this, we might be watching the next great quarterback, tight end duo in Los Angeles. Stay with me, because the next part of this story is where things get really interesting. Man, I've got to say it, Oronde Gadsden is the real deal. It finally feels like Justin Herbert has that tight end he's been waiting for his entire career. A guy who doesn't just make catches, but makes plays that change games. It's been a long time coming, but this connection between Herbert and Gadsden? It feels like something that could define the next era of Chargers football. Better late than never, right? Now, while the offense deserves a ton of credit, I've got to show some love to the other side of the ball. Because on defense, Odafe absolutely delivered. 2 sacks, non-stop pressure, and the kind of hustle that completely changes momentum. That's the kind of energy that wins you games late in the season. Ever since coming over from Baltimore, he's been electric. You can tell he's hungry, and the defense feeds off that. Overall, the defense had a solid day, not perfect, but solid. Giving up 20 points to Tennessee isn't ideal, but it's not all on them either. A few weird drives, a couple of short fields, it happens. The important thing is they held firm when it mattered most. Now, swinging back to the offense for a moment, let's talk about the run game. Kamani Vidal finally showed some flashes of what he can do. We saw a little of it against the Colts, but this time he looked more comfortable, more confident. He's quick, slippery, and dangerous in open space, more of an outside run guy who thrives on speed and agility. But here's the thing, that's not exactly the style the Chargers built this offense for. They wanted a power runner, that's why they drafted Omarion Hampton and brought in Najee Harris. Those two are built to take punishment and move piles. Vidal's a different type, a finesse runner, not a bruiser. And that's where the challenge lies. Late in the game, Jarrett Patterson stepped up with some strong runs, averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. That's great to see, but at the same time, it highlights the inconsistency in this backfield. The Chargers should have been able to run wild on Tennessee's defense. This was a winnable matchup for the ground game, yet no running back even broke 50 yards. That's why a trade for a running back might still be in the cards. The team needs someone who fits the system, someone who can grind down defenses, especially with the schedule about to get brutal. Of course, Justin Herbert once again carried the load, adding 57 rushing yards and another touchdown to his already monster day. Over 300 total yards and 3 total touchdowns, what else can you say? The guy's doing it all. And it's also great to see Quentin Johnston back in the mix. He's starting to look like that big play threat the Chargers drafted him to be. You can feel his confidence growing, and when that happens, big things usually follow. Stay with me, because the deeper we go into this win, the clearer it becomes what this team needs to fix, and what they're already building into something special. This is the kind of game we've been waiting for from him, getting that touchdown, picking up around 50 yards, and just being a difference maker on offense. And honestly, if that becomes the new normal, I'm all for it. We need that spark in the passing game. Now, Lad Monty had a tougher day. A couple of drops that were unusual for him, that's not what we're used to seeing. He's been a bit up and down lately, so we'll keep an eye on that. But look, everyone has off weeks. Some fans have been talking about trading for another wide receiver, but I'm not buying into that idea just yet. Why? Because this tight end has stepped up in a big way. He's back to being one of the top targets again, and when you've got a guy producing like that, you lean into it. Whatever's working, keep feeding it. Trey Harris also deserves a shout-out. Over the last few weeks, he's shown flashes of real potential. I was at the game for his first career touchdown, incredible moment, and you could just feel the excitement. This week, he made another key play, fighting for that first down that basically sealed the win. That's the kind of effort you love to see. So no, I don't think the Chargers need to trade for a wideout. The talent is already there, it's just about putting it all together. And how about Scott Matlock? Man, that was wild. His first ever receiving touchdown, from a guy who used to be a defensive tackle. Nobody saw that coming. You could tell the whole sideline went crazy. I actually like what this says about the team's creativity. Maybe this opens the door for a hybrid role, someone who can switch between fullback and tight end, kind of like what we see with Patrick Ricard on the Ravens or Kyle Juszczyk on the Niners. Having that type of versatile player could really help this offense. And before we wrap this up, a quick shout-out to Cameron Dicker. That guy has been rock solid. It feels like the Chargers finally have stability at kicker, and that's something we haven't been able to say in a long time. Before we jump into the defense, there's one thing I really want to mention, the Titan scoring. The final score was 27-20, but here's the key detail, 14 of those Titans' points didn't come from their offense. They came from special teams and defense. That means, in reality, our defense only gave up about 6 points. That's a big difference when you really think about it. Now, the Chargers' special teams, man, they've got some cleaning up to do. Usually, they're one of the more reliable units under Ryan Ficken, but this week? Something was off. That special teams touchdown the Titans got, it was just wild. Missed tackles, bad coverage, it gave Tennessee life they shouldn't have had. It's not like this group has been terrible all season, but lately, something slipped. Maybe it's just a bad week, maybe it's communication, but they've got to fix it fast. Especially when you're giving up big returns and points like that. And then the other Titans touchdown, that was off a pick six from Justin Herbert, deep inside our own red zone. So again, when you strip all that away, the defense itself held strong. Honestly, I thought they played a pretty solid game. They even had a goal line stand that stopped the Titans cold at the 1-yard line, that was awesome to see. There was also that close call where it looked like a fumble went into the end zone. Derwin James was trying to plead his case for a touchback. Maybe the refs missed it, but either way, he was everywhere today. Derwin looked like a leader out there, flying around the field, even getting in on a sack. You could feel his energy. And with Denzel Perryman back in the lineup, it just felt like this defense had more attitude, more punch. So yeah, the score doesn't tell the full story. The defense held it down. It was the miscues on special teams and that one interception that made this game closer than it should have been. Man, talk about heart. Dion Henley, that guy played with more than just skill today, he played with courage. Most people might not even realize it, but he suited up and went out there just a day after losing his brother. And still, he gave everything he had, a sack, a tackle for loss, a pass defended. You could feel that emotion in his play. That's not just football, that's strength. And across the board, this defense showed it. Derwin James looked like the hammer we all know him to be, flying around, making plays, setting the tone. Dave Owa? Monster effort. Troy Dye? Consistent and tough. And then you've got a guy like Mickens, who's been so close to making back-to-back interceptions, he's right there. For a late-round pick, he's becoming one of those hidden gems this team always seems to find. It's part of why they were confident enough to move on from Alohi Gilman. And with Khalil Mack looking sharp again, this defense is starting to look dangerous, but they still need help. The depth on the defensive line is thin right now, and it's starting to show. If the Chargers do make a move at the trade deadline, don't be surprised if it's for a lineman or a corner. Nothing crazy, but something to solidify this group as the real deal. As for this game, let's give credit where it's due. The Chargers defense got after Cam Ward all day, for sacks, just as predicted. The Titans tried to run, but they never really got into rhythm. Tony Pollard had a couple of nice bursts, but that was about it. Still, there's one thing this game made clear: the Chargers can't keep living on the edge with this offensive line depth. You're in the playoff stretch now. Every snap, every injury, every missed block matters. Go find help. Sign a vet. Get someone off the street if you have to. Because from here on out, it's playoff territory, no more room for mistakes. The schedule gets tougher, the pressure gets higher, but if the Chargers can stay healthy, tighten up the trenches, and keep this heart they played with today, this team's got a real shot to make noise down the stretch.